I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
The hall froze. Donald Trump's voice sliced through the noise like a blade. Cameras swung toward him as his finger jabbed in the air, his face twisted with fury. This was not the polished performance of a seasoned politician. This was raw, uncontrolled rage. The audience gasped, some cheering, others recoiling at the sheer venom in his tone. Reporters leaned forward, sensing a headline being written in real time. Trump was no longer measured, no longer pretending to be restrained. He wanted to break his opponent in front of the world, and he thought sheer force of personality would do it. But the moment he unleashed his anger, Jasmine Crockett's eyes sharpened. She did not flinch. She did not retreat. In that instant, she became the storm he never expected. Her silence was not weakness, it was calculation. She let his fury hang in the air, watched it ricochet around the room, and prepared to turn it back on him. The first seconds of Trump's explosion were meant to humiliate her. Instead, they lit the fuse of his own undoing.
A new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person.
Trump's words echoed like a hammer striking steel. He leaned forward, sneering, his voice dripping with disdain as he hurled the insult across the stage. To him, Jasmine Crockett was nothing more than a target, someone to diminish, someone to crush. The camera zoomed in on Crockett's face. She didn't move. She didn't blink. The insult rolled toward her like a wave, but instead of drowning, she absorbed it, letting the energy build around her. The crowd stirred, half expecting her to falter under the weight of his aggression. But Jasmine Crockett was no stranger to confrontation. She had faced prosecutors, lawmakers, and critics with sharper tools than insults. And now, standing opposite Donald Trump, she understood exactly what was happening. This was not just a clash of words. It was a performance, staged for millions watching at home. Trump wanted dominance. He wanted to remind the crowd that he was the loudest, the boldest, the one who could command the narrative with nothing but his voice. He struck with the arrogance of a man convinced the world would bend. But in that same moment, Crockett's resolve crystallized. She knew she couldn't match his volume. She didn't need to. All she had to do was flip the script. The tension in the room shifted. This wasn't going to be Trump's moment. This was about to become hers.
Engaging in a conversation where we have a president of the United States who has no idea about the oath that he just took on January 20th tells me everything that I need to know. He didn't even have good sense enough in that same interview to say something as simple as, yes, I will follow the Constitution.
Crockett's voice cut through the roar like a razor. Calm, sharp, deliberate. She didn't shout. She didn't tremble. She spoke with the precision of a prosecutor delivering the final blow in a courtroom. Trump's face tightened. For years, he had thrived on intimidation, on drowning his opponents with volume, insults, and relentless interruptions. But Crockett's words were different. They didn't crumble under his attack. They turned his fury into fuel. The audience shifted uneasily. Every camera, every microphone was now locked on her. She pressed forward, her cadence rising, every phrase striking harder than the last.
She became a career prosecutor while he became a career criminal. With 34 felonies, 2 impeachments, and 1 porn star to prove it.
Gasps, shouts, applause. Crockett had twisted the knife in the most public way possible. What Trump thought was his weapon, rage, had become the stage for his humiliation. Trump lunged back toward the microphone, red with anger, but his words stumbled. He tried to retake control, to shout her down, but the rhythm was already broken. She had found the crack in his armor, and she drove through it with relentless force. Crockett wasn't just answering, she was dismantling him piece by piece in front of millions, and it had only been seconds.
President Trump himself on another network criticized you and called you a low IQ individual. What was your reaction to that, and what do you say to that?
He's such a loser.
The insult landed like a thunderclap, not from Trump this time, but from Crockett's lips. She didn't hesitate, didn't blink, didn't soften the blow. In less than a breath, she flipped his own attack back at him, sharper, louder, more cutting than he could ever imagine. The room exploded. Applause surged through the crowd, drowning out Trump's attempts to retort. Reporters leaned forward, mouths open, capturing every syllable as history unfolded in real time. Crockett had not only endured his rage, she had bent it, redirected it, and hurled it back at him like a mirror reflecting his fury. Trump tried to recover. He raised his hand, demanding silence, his voice straining to rise above the uproar. But the rhythm was gone. He was no longer the conductor of the moment. He was the subject of it. His rage, meant to silence, had become his cage.
So, these guys don't play by any rules. They break everything.
Crockett leaned into the microphone, her tone low but piercing, riding the momentum of the audience's eruption. She painted him not as a leader, not as a fighter, but as a reckless man who thrived on chaos and destruction. And then it happened. The flip. 19 seconds. That was all it took. What began as Trump's explosion had transformed into Crockett's victory. The audience, the cameras, the headlines, all now belonged to her.
They are. But the reality is that we need to start speaking more truth if we are really going to get to the real power. And if we don't recognize the full history, then we are doomed to repeat it. And frankly, this is a guy that is trying to do everything.
Crockett's voice carried across the room, steady and unflinching. The crowd leaned in, drawn to the conviction behind her words. She was no longer just responding to Trump. She was seizing the narrative, reshaping the stage into her battlefield. Trump, still fuming, tried to interject again. His hands cut the air, his voice straining, but the energy had shifted. Every attempt to dominate only reminded the audience of the humiliation he had suffered moments before. His explosion had burned out. Hers was still burning.
Stops right here and stops right now.
But this time, the phrase did not belong to Trump. It was Crockett's final echo, reclaiming the words he once used as a weapon and turning them into her victory call. The cameras captured her smirk, her unwavering stare, and the silence that followed. The silence wasn't his. It was hers. The silence of control, of dominance, of a battle won. For the audience, the outcome was undeniable. Trump had raged, but Crockett had flipped his fury into ash. What was meant to be her humiliation became his collapse, condensed into 19 unforgettable seconds that would replay across every network, every timeline, every headline. And as the lights dimmed and the chatter swelled, one message remained clear. Power is not in the shout, but in the flip.